We were talking about keeping the fire burning on the altar, right? Eish tamid to cut on his back, low tip back. We got it. Shia comes to build the temple, we will kick him off the temple mount, call him a kaifer. Yeah, I would call him a kaifer. I'll call him a kofar. I think you have to see which people it is. The Spartak people who were against it called kofar. Take the wrong Rambam. Why did I pick up Sefer Abba? There's some other halachas we're learning about during the week. I try to stay on topic here. Museum. So we're going to talk about the lighting menorah also, God willing. Which the Rambam has big machlokas, Rambam and everybody else. What's involved? What the words actually mean? So we talked about when did they do this Trumas edition. Trumas edition. We stopped at this point where the Rambam switched from biblical Hebrew to Mishneh Hebrew. Remember? Okay, that's here. He says Yale Amud Shachar. What? Yeah, Tormim instead of Mirimim. He says at the break of dawn, right? So sometimes it's called Amud HaShachar, sometimes called Alud HaShachar. They're the same thing. When is Amud HaShachar or Alud HaShachar? We'll be simplistic. Leon can challenge me on this one. That it's about. Oh, I'm disconnected from Zoom.
No,
everybody here? Says I was disconnected. Am I still here?
Yes.
Okay, good. So it's about 72 minutes before sun rises in the land of Israel. The closer you are to the equator, the shorter this time is. The farther you are from the equator, the longer this time is. Make sense?
Yeah, I just never got why it's different at the beginning of the day.
It's not. The equivalent of Amud HaShachar, 72 minutes before the sunrise, is 72 minutes after sunset, which is Seit Kol HaKochavim, when all the stars come out, as the Golden Goin points out. What's the nafkamina l'alacha? The nafkamina l'alacha is how far a person walks. If it's a normal night, the guy will walk throughout the twilight, dusk. Even after the sun sets, he's like, there's still enough light for my journey. But 72 minutes afterwards, it's maximum darkness. It's like you got to stop it. It's not getting any darker. It's completely night.
But why does at the end of the day ends with 3 stars, but doesn't begin with?
The day doesn't end with 3 stars. Nowhere. The Rambam says the day ends with sunset and the night begins with sunset. The Rambam says in about 12 different places. And that's the halacha.
Or nightfall or whatever.
No. So what does Tzeis HaKochavim have to do with it? The halachic Tzeis, which is, just like 18 minutes or so. Someone else argue this, but we could reference other shiurim. Okay. 18 minutes after sunset is the halachic Tzeis. And that's a nafkamina in 3 places for 3 different mitzvos because we have psukim that indicate it should be that way. Okay? That's all. When do you lie down? When it's already nighttime. You don't go to sleep at sunset. It has to be a certain measure of darkness. So Chazal said around that time. Uva shemesh v'taher. When is a kohen pure after dunking in the previous day? Once the light is out of the sky is cleared of the light of the day. That's tzeis. That's the halachic definition. Okay, and that's what when tzeis is only mentioned once in Tanakh. Okay, yeah, we said this last year. Dawn, Amud HaShachar or Lod HaShachar, and Zricha or sunrise are many times in Tanakh, and so is the Shkia. But Tzeis HaKochavim is only mentioned once in Nehemiah, and he's talking about they had to stay on guard while they were building, so they're able to build and continue working throughout twilight. So that Tzeis that's mentioned in Sefer Nehemiah seems to be the Tzeis of the Vilna Gaon, the Rambam, which is 72 minutes after sunset, which is not a halachic nafkamina. That's just a technical nafkamina. How far can you walk, or how long can you stay at work and building a wall, until it's just dark? You got to quit now. Okay, you've maximized your output. From the last third of the night, they used to divide the night into not hours because really, I checked this out. Boy Scouts will tell you also a sundial does not work at night. You know why?
Because of sun.
So it's really hard to divide up the day into hours if it's nighttime. The night. They divide the night into thirds. How do you divide the night into thirds? Wait a minute. I understand that I could use a sundial to divide the day into 12 hours, 12 seasonal hours, right? Every single day. How do I do that? Using a sundial. And there's a way to make your sundials adjustable. It even indicates seasonal hours. In June, the hours here in Eretz Yisrael are basically there's 14 hours to be divided among the 12, 14 light hours, objective hours, and the shortest day there's 10 hours of light, right? But you could build a sundial, and they have them at science museums. The sundial still indicates seasonal hours. You could do that. That's a very simple thing to do. People have been doing this for thousands of years, but you cannot do that type of division of a night. Instead, you divide a night into thirds. How do you divide the night into thirds? And you're able to tell when a third of the night has passed in the olden days. Anybody know? Well, okay, so what? How do you divide the night? You have simonim. What are okay, not esoteric simonim. What are the most basic simonim? Anybody know? Anybody Boy Scout here? How do you know how to divide the night into thirds? If you're in the wild, how do you divide the night into thirds? Yashmarot.
Are you referring to like astrological simon, or are you referring to a simon that they can learn things?
A simon that you can find.
Barking and
the most basic way that they used to do it is, first of all, they had hourglasses. Okay, you have an hourglass that's supposed to be relative. It could go a third of the night. Basically, they had that. If you're awake, you could do an hourglass that the night is about 10 hours long. So you have an hourglass that's divides the night into 3 hours and 20-minute hourglass or so, and you flip that over. You're roughly going to get thirds. That's when we're using a tool. The Boy Scout way is looking at the stars. And if you know a little basic astronomy, you know that if we didn't have light pollution, you'd see the stars go across the sky at a certain rate every night. There's a certain constellation that's at the at the east and at the west when the night starts, right? There's a constellation. And the constellations move over the course of the night a certain distance. Why? Because the Earth is moving. The background of the stars is basically fixed, so to speak. Really, the stars are moving a lot, but they're so far away and there's so much distance between them. From our point of view, the background field of stars that don't include the planets in our solar system look like a fixed background. Okay? So you could tell, you see, the Big Dipper is in that part of the sky at this part of the night. It's going to go about a third of the way across the sky or whatever it is. Or if you have a full moon, for example. Okay? The moon isn't perfect, but you can see the moon takes about 12 hours or so to go across the sky. So a third of the way across is a third of the night. The moon is really helpful, but it's not always available, right? So you could tell using basic astronomy how far a certain constellation right across the celestial equator has gone. That's about a third. Okay? That's how they're able to do it back in the olden days. Anybody challenging what I have to say? Well, if you're a Boy Scout, then you could do so, but this is generally how you could do it if you get a basic astronomy book. The problem is, we said before, I've been telling everybody, even when I'm in the middle of nowhere nowadays in Israel, there's still so much light pollution, you can't see diddly squat, right? Right?
Well, it depends on where in the middle of nowhere. I mean, I've been out in the Negev.
Fine, in the Negev, but where the place I go, you don't even see the 3 stars. Forget about it. You're not going to see any stars. Look outside right now. Are there any stars? No, absolutely
I
not.
was something incredible from like the beginning of my military service.
Yeah.
When I was first along like nights out in the field, and I saw actually a galaxy.
Yeah.
That was the first time.
You saw galaxies. Okay.
No, I saw the Milky Way.
You can see, yeah, Milky Way, but do you actually see a galaxy?
See the arm of our galaxy.
Okay, you see the arm of our galaxy. My question is, do you see like a smudge? Instead of like a star, it's like a clump of stars. That's a whole nother universe to itself.
No, it's way
Most of everything that you see is within our galaxy, not in intergalactic space.
You're not going to see them.
Galaxies, when you think about the idea that we're in a galaxy, and between us and the next galaxy is hundreds of millions of light years, and there's nothing in between. And there's no chance for anything that we could comprehend of that could go from one galaxy to another. It really, that's how you develop love of God, according to the Rambam. Okay, let's see here. So this halacha the Rambam brings is actually highly disputed. You see here, he says that you do it at dawn, and if it's one of the holidays, so from the last third of the night, and if it's Yom Kippur, from midnight. Okay, on Yom Kippur, they're really keeping track of midnight. What's the way to keep track of midnight, assuming it's not cloudy in Eretz Yisrael? Because the moon is a certain size at the beginning of the night, and it's a certain location, and basically 6 hours through the night, and Yom Kippur is also around the time when the night's basically 12 hours long, they could see how far the moon is supposed to travel across the sky over half that night. Yom Kippur is always the 10th of the month, right? So the moon is a certain size. It's almost full. It's not half moon like on the 7th. It's not a full moon. Okay? So it's a waxing moon, and it always starts off at a particular spot in the sky, roughly speaking, and will travel a certain amount of sky across the night of Yom Kippur. So it says in the Mishnah, I have here, I'll read you what the Mishnah says in Yoma. By the way, our Masechta in, let's say, the Vilna Shas, it calls it Yoma. What's the Rambam's name of the Masechta? What? No, Kippurim. The Rambam has different names of the Masechtas than we have because he has the more classical ones. We have yeshivish names for Masechta, just like Maseches Moed. Okay, so we call it Moed Katan. Why? Because the Seder is called Moed. So the Masechta within the Seder we call Moed Katan, but the Rambam just calls it Moed, right? Like Taurus and Taurus. Okay, there's no Taurus Katan. B'chol yom tormim esam mizbeach mikriyas hagever o samuchlo. Every day they do this Trumas Hadeshen from when the rooster cries or around then. Does the rooster always cry, by the way, at dawn? Okay. Bein milafon of bein milachrov. It could be before, a little bit before, a little bit after. Yom Kippur mechatzos. From Yom Kippur, when they do it from midnight. Okay. Uvar golim me ashmores harishona. Oh, wait, the Rambam says shlish achron. That's the last ashmores. But the Mishnah we have says ashmores rishona. Okay, they do the Trumas Hadeshen on the regalim even earlier than on Yom Kippur, which makes sense. Why? Because there's even more karbanos. There's more ashes to clear for the mizbeach. Read you what Steinsaltz has here. He mentions this. Now Marsha Tormi Mashmores Rishona. Okay, he mentions the Mishnah I quoted. Dino Bisofa Shlisha Rishon Shalaila. Okay, the end of the first third of the night, 10 p.m. The Yesha Garsu Baramam Khan Bitchila Shlish Emtzai for the beginning of the middle third. Okay. That's what the Gemara says. They change it. But the problem is, you look in the Frankel and the Shinu Gersos and all that, and it doesn't exactly check out. So maybe there's different Gersa. I don't know. Okay. But the Rambam here doesn't necessarily reflect what we have in our Mishnayos. Not so bad, you know. Maybe they changed the Rambam, maybe change the Mishnah. I don't know. Okay, let's continue. We have a few more minutes. Ketzad Tormim. So how does this work? Misha Zachali Trom, Tovel V'Levesh Big Day Harama. The one who earned the right to do this, taking off the ashes, immerses in the mikvah, and then puts on his Big Day Harama. Like we said, it's not the regular Kohen outfit, it's Madei Bet. Okay? His secondary outfit because he's going to get dirty. Umekadesh Yodav Ragalov, and then he washes his hands and feet. So the Kohen first has to dunk in the mikvah because, as we're going to see in Hilchot Avodas Yom Kippurim, this is a takanas chazal that anybody who puts on Big Day Kahuna, even if it's Kohen Gadol, he was wearing Big Day Kahuna, he's changing his outfit. That's why he has to dunk all the time. Every time he takes off his clothes and puts them back on, he has to dunk. You have to dunk before you put on your Kohen clothes. So he dunks, puts on the Kohen clothes, and then he enters the Azara and does the ceremonial washing of the hands and feet from the Kior. V'omrim lo, he's aher shema tigab bakli, ad shetikadesh yadecha v'raglecha. They tell him, make sure, don't touch the kli, don't get started until you actually wash your hands, okay, and your feet. Why? Because and this is the first thing. Basically, this starts the day's service. Until this point, a Kohen was working. Let's say a Kohen was I don't know. He was working all day. Not that many Kohanim. He worked all day under the korbanos, and he's also working the night shift at Hekler Chalavin. Right. So one time to wash his hands and feet in the morning, or at least in the afternoon when he started the service. Let's say he started with the Korban Tamid. He's going to work the night shift also. There was a night shift in the temple. He's not on guard duty. He doesn't get to go to sleep a little bit. If you're on guard duty, it's only one shlish of the night. And the Kohen and Levim who are not on guard duty, they get to sleep at night, right? So this Kohen was usually asleep, right? But even not, now it's a new day. Let's say he worked all through the night. Because the new day's service, he has to wash his hands and feet. This is the first thing that marks the new day. Okay? What the Hekter Chalavim is technically today, but it's leftovers from yesterday. It's yesterday's service. It's a continuation of yesterday's service through the night. And even though right now it's 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, midnight, it's Yom Kippur, the Kohen who's doing this is what? He's starting a new day's service, so he has to wash his hands and feet as though it's a brand new day. By the way, so it's like a raya. They have this thing, people stay up all night on, let's say, Hoshana Rabbah is coming up, right? And of course, you have a stay up all night on Hoshana Rabbah and Shavuos. You get the whole thing. How do you say your brachas in the morning? When do you wash your hands? You didn't sleep. When do you do this? So they get into this whole thing. Do you have to wash your hands because you didn't sleep and you didn't die, so to speak. So you don't have to wash up the 2 month stuff and you don't have reach ra because you're in shul learning all the time. Do you have to wash your hands at all? And the answer is, according to the Rambam, 100% yes. You know why? Because you're washing your hands at Tzilas Yadayim in the morning, not because you were sleeping. It's because you're about to daven. It's because you're about to eat bread. Washing hands in the morning, according to the Rambam, is strictly, according to other Rishonim also before the Kabbalah, is in order to get ready for davening. Your hands, you don't know what you were doing beforehand. Maybe you were touching things. So you have to do Netilat Yadayim before you daven, every single time you daven. So according to the Rambam, if you stayed up all night for whatever reason, come Shachris time, if you were doing whatever else, you were woodworking, okay, and you're doing your math homework, you're taking care of the baby, comes Shachris time, you are chayiv in Netilat Yadayim with the bracha, even if you did not sleep, because it's Shachris time. You're washing your hands for Shachris, like the Vilgon says, based on the Rambam.
That's unrelated to me.
Well, it's unrelated to morning. That's the whole point.
Rabbi.
So too, the Kohen here, he could have been working all night. He was doing Hector Chalavim until this point, right? Now he puts on different Kohanic vestments because Hector Chalavim does as a regular Kohen. He's going to do Truma Sadeshen. He takes off his other Kohen clothes, the regular Madei Aleph, his premier Kohen clothes, goes to the mikvah, puts on the inferior clothes, and then washes the Kiddush Yadayim Bar-Hayim because he's starting a new day's service. By the way, it happened in temple times. It could be that a Kohen shortened on a given day. The Gemara talks about it. And they were Tameh or something like that. They said they had to press Kohanim into service. It wasn't the usual schedule. There weren't enough Kohanim to go around. Okay, let's finish this. He takes this shovel. It doesn't look like our shovels, it's like a ceremonial shovel for digging coals. It was made out of silver. It was at that corner between the ramp and the Mizbeach. Remember, the ramp was not as wide as the Mizbeach, so it's over here on the map over there, right? And on the west side, because the ramp is on the west side. He takes this shovel. He goes to the top of the altar. He clears some of the coals. He wants ash. What's the difference between ashes and coals? Coals are more, they're burning hot too. They're technically on fire. The ashes are already burned out. Nothing left to burn. Now they're just a powder. He clears the coals so he can get into the ashes. He finds the coals that have been fully consumed in the fire. And then he takes those, okay, the fully consumed ones, the ashy ones, and brings them down to floor level. You see, I do barbecues. I like to use the natural stuff. You actually see this in the grill. Okay, there's the thicker sticks that we use. Those are still coals. They're red hot. You blow on them, you'll see them turn red. And the thinner sticks that were there for kindling, you blow on them, they just fly all over the place. They're basically ash already. Okay, so that's what he's talking about. We should have a pause for questions. Pause with the prayer that we live to see the destruction of Israel's enemies and the rebuilding of the temple speeding in our days. And then we'll learn a thing or two. Teach the enemies a thing or two, and so that we could actually learn the right things. Have a good Shabbos. Shabbat Shalom v'nitzachon. Be well.
We would like to encourage our viewers to share these videos with friends and send in your responses. If you would like to obtain Birkon Nusach Eretz Yisrael or invite the rabbi for a speaking engagement, please email us at office@machonshilo.org.